let's have a look a little bit of yesterday and then talk about today. How's that for a plan? Started off really well yesterday, ended really badly. My profit loss graph went and then a little bit down at the end for the Joshua fight because all the value was on Joshua and Dubois won. It happens sometimes. But the day started well enough yesterday with looking at Cole Palmer. Let's not boom anything. Look, I was over 0.5 shots on target at 1.6, which is a 62.5% probability of coming in. You're not going to boom when you flip a coin and it lands your side, and it's even more likely than that. But still, a goal in each half was 1.6, same 62.5. But with Cole Palmer, he got fouled. He got his shot on target. I actually backed him 0.5 over 0.5 shots on target, and then without thinking, I laid him over 1.5 shots on target. And I don't like getting on too many bets where there's a very narrow window that I can actually win big. And here what I'm doing is I'm essentially betting on Cole Palmer to get exactly one shot on target. Didn't like it. So I backed out of my lay of over 1.5. Yeah, and then he got one shot on target, which was his goal, and then got subbed off. I was looking at goal or assist. It was too thin. I was a bit when he got his goal, but that happens. Jared Bowen got his shot on target. All in all, the Celtic game was a pretty decent game for me. I then, in the 3 p.m s, slight profit, nothing really to go into. But it was the Manchester United match I was having a look at. I mean, there were a few cards that came in yesterday. Cliver was pretty early and was 110% in Liverpool-Bournemouth. Maddison, again, 112%, same odds, 5.0. But it was the Manchester United match that took me by interest because I was having a look at first goal scorer here. Now, as always, the easy thing to do is to come into this where you want to back it because backing at 10, 20, 30 is more fun than laying. Couldn't see any back value. I could see, however, lay value for the following. Diallo at 16, Mateta at 8.6, Zerki at 9, Mainu at 36, delete my ass, 44, Garnacho at 12, Fernandez at 11, Guehi at a whopping 85. We all love laying 85, don't we? Christian Eriksen at 38. Nketiah. Only found out yesterday is Edward Nketiah. There you go, at 10.5, right? All big prices, but actually think about the Dutch lay across all of them, because once you're laying all of those guys, one of them to have a shot on target is 64.7% or 1.54. So flip that over for the reciprocal. When you're laying them, it's the equivalent of backing at 2.84. I'll back anything at 2.84. So I laid all of those, and aren't you just delighted when you Dutch lay a bunch of players, including at 85? I mean, of course, I'm not paying out the full 85 because I'm laying another, how many players in that match? I was laying 10 of the starting 20 in the match, right? So I've laid half of the players on the pitch, but it's actually 64.7% coverage because I've got a lot of the strikers there. And yeah, it finishes 0-0. A good game to lay, and each and every one of those was value. The sum of the EV in that match was really, really big for me. So just something to have a look at. Laying... I wanted to lay Mbappe, but I didn't in the Real Madrid. So there's your non-after timing after time. And in the horse racing, Franny Norton announced his retirement and was at Chester yesterday. 2+ winners. Was it in the stars that his last race came in? Well, certainly it wasn't too much of a sweat if you watched the race. And there was one, there was a couple. There was Alpha Kelenic, right, to finish in the top 7 or the top 8 of the Air 225. And similarly, there's no half measures to finish in the top 5 of the 130. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose. I've got a moustache hair that grows up, and I hate doing this on camera. Just forgive me for now. How do we work these out? Well, the place markets are quite complicated to work out with a lot of accuracy when you don't have connections, when you're looking at and you're not doing things like form and saddle, because you've got the win price. The relationship between the win price and the place price isn't direct. Things like race composition come into it. How many outsiders are in the race? You know, you could be a certain price to win, but look, if 9 of the 12 horses are 1,000 to 1, then those 3 horses that aren't are nailed on 1.0 ones to come 1, 2, and 3 in some order, right? So it is difficult. I use some sort of, somebody asked me how to calculate it yesterday. You could use the BB algo, which is a regression analysis looking backwards. Sometimes when there's not a lot of data to go off, the regression analysis can throw up a funny number, and your plus EV bet might be negative EV, but place enough of them and you'll be okay. I actually like to go for a linear relationship. So by linear, I don't think linear is the word actually, but what I do is I work out the odds of exactly third, exactly fourth, exactly fifth, because if you've got a liquid exchange with top 3 and top 4, it's just a subtraction of those probabilities that give you exactly third, exactly fourth, and then you can average exactly third, exactly fourth, exactly fifth to get your 6th and 7th and 8th, and then just add them all up to get top 8. Now, it's not a very accurate method of doing it, but what it can do is give you a rough idea, and if the bet that you're then getting for your top 8 is big enough, like I'm not taking 101% on that, right? Just letting you know. But if it's 120%, I'm taking it. And so it did on both Nohoff Messers and Alpha Kelenic. How do you like it? They both won. So you don't even have to sweat whether they came in that 6th or 7th position. So there you go. And then my last one, if you want to have a look at this, I've got a coupon bet. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to put it up, just because sometimes I think I share these screenshots of these coupons and the shop might find out that it was me that was essentially, funding this bet, and perhaps I might not be getting on in future shops. So instead of sharing that exact, because there's still one to run in it as well, you don't want any complications of picking up cash. I wouldn't share a lucky 15 with you, a shop bet where 3 of the races had won, because could get into a little bit of murky waters if the 4th race wins, picking that bet up. But essentially, yeah, the 7th Heaven coupon at lunchtime yesterday got on the top 7. 5 of the 7 won at pretty meaty prices, so I was happy with that. So I'm looking at $3,000 for a draw in the Man City Arsenal game. That actually does sometimes affect my decision making on the bets that I'm going to get on today, because there's a big bet for Manchester City to win, but I'm sort of hoping that they're going to draw. I am less likely. I don't want to be in a position where I don't. This is personal risk preference. It's my personal way of betting. It might not be optimal. There might be another way of doing it, but I personally would not like to go too big on Arsenal and Man City to do lots of things today when the draw brings in a decent payday for me anyway. So I'm just going to have that sort of noted as I'm looking through the bets today. Today, there is definitely an interesting one, which is Celtic Falkirk. Now, I've had a look at this. Celtic are like 1.08 in this game, right? And 1.07 in this game. Now, when you look historically, there's not a lot of 1.07s to go off in terms of like looking at trends to get information of how these sort of completely one-sided games in the League Cup, how they unfold. What we do know is that the markets are making Celtic to have 3.6 of the 4 expected goals in this game. It sort of comes down to how many goals maybe Falkirk are going to score. But there's, if you look at Celtic to win by 1 or 2 goals, it's pretty much nailed on. And then you get to the Asian handicaps of what happens with Celtic winning by a lot of goals. And there is a pretty big bet out there just now, Celtic to win by 5 or more goals. Now, looking historically, tried to find quite a similar game that they might have been in, but Celtic like scoring a lot of goals. They played Bucky Thistle when Bucky Thistle were 40-1, and just now Falkirk are 40-1 on the exchanges, and they won that 5-0. But it's not just that they're scoring 5 in. They scored 5 against the Bucky Thistle. They scored 7 against Dundee FC. They scored 4 against Livingston. They scored 4 against Aberdeen. They scored 5 against Kilmarnock, and that's all in the Premiership. And those teams are a lot longer price, or a lot shorter price than Falkirk. 6 against Queen's Park. Even 4 against Manchester City and 4 against Chelsea, albeit they were friendlies pre-season. How much can you take out of that? 5 against Slovan Bratislava they scored in the Champions League. I mean, are they going to be tired from the Champions League? I just think Celtic do have a precedence of scoring goals in these games. And they could very easily get their 5. Could Falkirk get 1? Yeah, they could get 1. Slovan Bratislava got 1. Queen's Park got 1. But Celtic to win minus 4.5 Asian handicap, so 5 or more goals, tends to be valued, from what I can see, against our model at every bookmaker just now. There's only a couple up at Odds Checker. I think one's tracking the other one, but it is the sort of game where I think I would be happy to be on everywhere. It's like, just because the bookmakers are a little bit high there, you've got to ask the question, what are their models doing? And their models have as little data on teams that are 1.07 and have such a high percentage of XG in the game as our models. Can we be confident that 3-1 is a good price? 33% of the time they win by 5 or more goals, or 25%, sorry, at 3-1. No, but we're not confident, and the markets aren't confident either. And at that point, I see opportunity. Am I max betting this? No, I'm not. Do I think that there is an edge here? Yes, I do. So it's one of those. It's like, if you like your bets to be confident, I would definitely skip Celtic versus Falkirk today. Personally, I've looked at it. Personally, I like the fact that there's so little goals to Falkirk, because I think these big Asian handicaps are essentially going to come down to Falkirk nick 1 or 2 because Celtic are pressing too high. And yeah, I like the look of it. What else is out there just now? Have a look at this one. I'm going to do a screen share just now, actually. So on the exchanges, because I think this is a Paddy Power boost. Haaland to score any time, Kanji to be carded, Party to commit 1+ fouls is... Go on, let's go over to Paddy Power and see what they've put it at. Paddy Power in the past have told their sort of boost traders or the market people not to put up too many bets at like 20-1, 30-1, 40-1. In terms of their Andy Robson tips, they're all around evens, and that was an instruction that came down from Paddy Power, because I think something got boosted from 33-1 to 50-1. The 50-1 came in, they got hit by liability, they no longer wanted to do it, because heaven forbid they would be an actual bookmaker. But they've got Haaland to score any time, Candy to be carded, and Party to commit 1+ fouls at 21, right? This can be backed currently and laid on the exchange at 19.5. So the match bettors are pretty happy. The question you've got to ask yourself is it value or not? So from here, I'm just going to switch over now to the bet builder at bookiebashing.net. So here at Paddy Power, we see Man City Arsenal. This is the Peter Crouch pod special podcast, which is Peter Crouch is probably to blame for this or to thank for this. Erling Haaland anytime, Akanji to be carded, Party to commit 1+ fouls is 20-1. Okay, so we can work these 3 things out individually, but you're going to get an exchange price for Haaland maybe, and that's going to include the odds of him not starting, although to be fair, he's going to start. How are you going to get a Kanji to be carded and Party to commit 1+ fouls? That's a slightly difficult one. There's a number of different ways of doing it. If I can just showcase Bookie Basher for a second, but before I do that, in the enhanced specials, we find out that it's 19 to back, 19.5 to lane. A lot of the money's going at 19.5. So this pricks my interest. I raise an eyebrow when I see this, because it looks like just 1 tick or 2 ticks under the bookie price could be artificially held up by layers. Now, in Player Stats tool here that I have, what am I looking at here? Here's the Man City game. This is player cards. Akanji, it's Akanji, isn't it? Where is he? There. 0.22 cards. That's 5.06. That's the bulk of the price of those 3 things. We're going to multiply together. By the way, I believe that these 3 segments of this bet can all be multiplied together. There's no interrelationship between a player getting a foul, a card being issued to somebody else, and a player scoring like this. So that's the first bit. It's 5.06. Probably won't change over the day, but it could. So this tool will monitor that. Where are fouls? Fouls are there. If I look at fouls, it was Thomas Partey. We're looking at 1.24 fouls in the game for 1.41. Again, the markets could change this. But the interesting one's going to be Haaland. Now, Haaland's 2.5 on the exchanges just now, but I wouldn't be backing that. So I've imported the team news here. So I've gone to the Manchester City match. Excuse me, you might see some admin view stuff here just going on as we're working on it. So if this looks a little bit different to yours, but here's the ad lineups. And we've got 2 columns ordered by surname, which really annoyed me because I was looking at the who scored lineups, and they had Magalhaes here, and I'm like, where's Magalhaes? And of course it's Gabriel Magalhaes, also just known as Gabriel. He only goes by the one name. It says Magalhaes at who scored and Gabriel. But I put them all in, and whilst you can get 2.5 at the exchange, given that City are going to get 1.63 goals in this game, 0.47 of those are going to go to Haaland, and that means the exchange price at this moment is too low. I'd be laying 2.5 quite comfortably. I'd definitely be laying 5.0 on the exchanges for him to get the first goal scorer. At the moment, it's closer to 6.0. Now, that could come down depending on whether Foden starts, Silva starts, some of these guys getting, Man City go a little bit more defensive because they're playing Arsenal. But at the moment, that 2.5 is 2.69. Now, on the bet builder, if you load up Haaland just now, the bet builder just takes the price without any team news in it just now. So you're going to get that 0.5 goals as he is when it's 100%. 0.51. So what I've done here is I brought it down to what the normalized XG is, which is 0.47. Just check that. Yep, 0.47. And when I do that and I add in Akanji and I add in Thomas Partey to get his foul, what I find, annoyingly, is that the exchange price is right. The exchange price isn't correct because those guys have calculated it correctly. That's purely a coincidence. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any value in that bet to back on the exchanges just now. That happens, I'll move on, or Haaland might steam in later and I can back it, or Haaland might drift later. I'm probably not laying the bet at 20 because I can't Dutch lay it, but that's my thought process around there. I have sent that to my tracker and I am tracking it. I'm tracking it just now with the exchange price, which is why it's 17.82, but I think I'll track it and I'll put a little comment in as well about what I normalized price, because that's not big enough for me just now. And everything else that's up, so we've got Brighton to win in 2+ goals, 9+ corners. I'm tracking some of these, which means that they're just being tracked against the price they went up at the time. So all these are drifters and these are steamers at the top. Some of them are being tracked against the actual price, which is static as well. That's available in the exchange. So if you can get 6.3 for Man City, Barca and Inter, fair odds of 5.79. I won't be doing that because I want to draw in the Man City game. There's plenty of NFL out there as well tonight. Brighton to have the most corners, shots and shots on target is an interesting one, because if you have the most shots, then you're likely to have the most shots on target, although it's not dead cert. But every shot on target is a shot, so there's some correlation there. Now, that went up at 2.25, and on the exchange just now, that bet, there's a lot of bets up here. Not down there. Where is it? There, 2.54. Well, if anything, it's going to be better than that. How much better, I don't know. But I think the worst price it can be just now is 2.34, and it's probably lower. That's one of those bets where I don't know the correlation between shots and shots on target, so I'm not laying it, but when it's much over, I am backing it. There's one to look out for. So that's just tracking some private bets in the background on my private tracker, because I got public off here, bookie bashing, and a little showcase of how I'm working out these bets and how the tools work.